Varlamore is finally set to release this Wednesday on March 20th. And if you're like me and you haven't paid a ton of attention to all the adjustments and slight tweaks they've made in the last few months, then this video is for you, because today we're going to do a quick summary of everything you need to know before release. Now realistically, this is one of the biggest updates we've had in Oldschool, but I'd also like this video not to be 20 minutes long, so let's go ahead and jump straight into it. To kick things off, we're going to talk about the Colosseum, which is probably going to be one of the fan favorites of this entire update. And the Colosseum is a wave-based PvM minigame that is massively going to play into risk and reward. And as a sneak peek, here are some of the foes you are going to be seeing in the Colosseum. Each wave will get exponentially more difficult, and one really cool feature is that no two runs are going to be the same. Spawn locations will be random, there'll be variations in the enemies you'll face on any given round. And between waves, you'll also have to choose between modifiers, some of which hurting your ability and others making everything else around you stronger. And when you're talking risk versus reward, the further you make it and the trickier the modifiers you have selected, the more you'll be rewarded for it. But this also comes with the cost of one slight hiccup and you lose all of the progress and all of the rewards you would have received up to that point. As you progress through the waves, you have the ability to pull out and take the loot you would have already received, or gamble it and lose everything if you do fall short in the next wave. But as for rewards, here's some of the things you can expect to get from the Colosseum. The first one being the Quiver, and this is an untradeable, chargeable new best-in-slot cape slot. Not only does it have dramatically better stats than the Ava's Assembler, but it also has a unique effect of holding at least two different types of ammo, automatically selecting whichever applies to your current weapon. You'll earn one of these by making it all the way to the end of a Colosseum run. As you can see right here by the stat of 18, 28, and 3 and 4 with the range strength, whenever charged, ammo fired from the Quiver will gain an additional 1 range strength and 10 accuracy. Next up we have the Glaive of Perilous, and when charged this weapon will have 2 hit splats, each dealing between 0 and 75% of your maximum hit. This weapon also has a special attack that'll use 50% of your special attack bar, and with successful hits will drain the target's defense level by 10% of their magic level. Next is the Sunfire armor set, and this isn't really anything too special. It requires 40 defense and 60 prayer, and this is essentially just a buffed up version of Proselyte, with each piece boasting a +2 prayer bonus to its counterpart. And then finally, for some basic loot, we have the Sunfire Splinters. And this is an item you're going to receive in bulk, very similar to what the Ancient Essence is from the Phantom Muspa. Turning these splinters into dust is what's going to help you charge up the Glaive of Perilous along with the Quiver. And it should be a consistent form of profit when you're taking on the Colosseum. But in addition to that, you can also use these new splinters to make a new rune, being the Sunfire runes. You'll make these by combining Rune Essence, Pure, or Day Alt with the Sunfire Splinters at the new Sunfire altar found in Varlamore. But the catch with these new runes is they will essentially count as fire runes, but when using them, the spell will gain a 10% minimum hit. You'll also be able to use these runes or the dust and combine them with burnt pages to make searing pages, which would then give you this effect using the Tome of Fire. But moving on from the Colosseum all the way over here to the west, we have another PvM challenge, but this one centered more around mid-level accounts. After the completion of this quest over here in Camtorum, you'll unlock a new dungeon in Perilous Moons. And down in this dungeon, you'll find 3 new demi-bosses. And this content is kind of Barrows meets Dungeoneering meets Gauntlet. Every trip when you enter the dungeon starts in the central room. Within this central room, there will be 4 different corridors that you can go to explore, each of them leading to a different area of the dungeon. However, every time you enter, only one of them will be open for you to actually go access, meaning that every single encounter will begin slightly differently. But once you've explored the starting corridor, you're free to move around and tackle the bosses in any way or order you'd like. But apart from the demi-bosses being the Barrows aspect of this update, when I'm talking the Gauntlet and the Dungeoneering, each room in the temple contains different enemies you can fight, shortcuts you can take, or different opportunities to flex your skilling levels. There will be base camps around the dungeon that'll help you store and retrieve your tools. There will be ways to acquire more food and prayer restoration items. And unlike the Gauntlet, while you are able to bring in some of your own supplies, after your initial run, it is dramatically faster just to use supplies that you've made within the dungeon rather than trying to trek to the nearest bank. One massive difference with this piece of content is that defense is going to be king. You don't actually kill any of these 3 bosses. You essentially just tank damage, do mechanics, and try to last long enough while you distract them from exiting the temple. Now, another cool feature that these bosses have that is entirely different from Barrows is that multiple players can fight them at the exact same time. But despite that, you will have your own individual health bar, meaning that other players' participation or lack thereof will not have any impact on your reward potential. But speaking of rewards, let's talk what you can expect to get from Perilous Moons. Up for grabs is 3 new sets of armor along with an accompanying weapon. And if you didn't already notice from first glance, these new sets of armor are almost exact copies of what each respective boss is wearing in their own arenas. Meaning that it wouldn't be all too surprising that each of these respective armor sets, strengths, and special attacks could be something we see in those particular boss fights. But without further ado, let's jump into the first one, and we have the Blood Rager set and the Dual McQuiddles. The weapon special attack will take 25% of your spec attack bar, and it'll sacrifice 10% of your current HP to raise your minimum and maximum hits by 25%. Now, when using these weapons in tandem with the full set, you do get a set effect, and using this special attack will have a 100% chance to trigger it. And the special effect of the armor is Bloodthirst, meaning on a successful hit there is a 33% chance that your next attack happens 1 tick faster. The next set we have is the Frost Moon set along with the Spell Spear, and this set's very unique because it's a mix of magic and melee. Now, the Spell Spear's special attack is on a successful hit, it'll increase your accuracy and damage by 1% for every remaining tick on a binding effect. So for example, if you would cast Ice Barrage has a binding effect of 32 ticks. So if you used it in tandem with this special attack, you would increase your accuracy and damage by 32% on the initial hit after a successful special attack. And then for the set effect when using the full Frost Moon set, you have Spellblade, which gives you a 10% chance for the next melee attack to not be affected by action delay. And for our third and final set, we have the Eclipse set along with the Atlatl. This set is once again a hybrid set, but with range and melee. This set requires 75 range and 50 defense, just like the initial 2. The Frost Moon being 75 magic and 50 defense, and then the Blood Rager being 75 strength and 50 defense. One unique aspect of the Atlatl is it rolls your damage based on your offensive melee strength bonus, despite it being a range weapon. Now, the set effect when using the full Eclipse will be Searing Blows. You have a 20% chance to inflict burn, and burn will deal 1 damage every 4 ticks for 40 ticks consecutively. And then for the special attack of the Atlatl, it'll use 50% of your special attack energy, and it will consume the remaining burn damage on the target and increase your max hit by that much and your minimum hit by half as much. So if you had 30 damage remaining on the burn, you will then get hit a 30, your max hit will get increased by 30, and your minimum hit would be increased by 15. One thing to note with this special attack though is the target must be already actively burned and within melee range. And the final unique reward we have from Perilous Moons is the Sulphur Blades, and this is a 2-handed weapon requiring 55 attack, and uniquely this weapon hits twice per attack. But this is entirely aesthetic because it rolls normal damage, it just shows it in 2 different hit splats. Now for some of the non-PVM aspects of this update, the first one and the next biggest by far is all of the changes to Hunter, with the main one being the Hunter's Guild. You'll need at least 46 Hunter to enter the guild, and one of the biggest new additions are the new Hunter's Rumours, which are essentially farming contracts or /slayer task for Hunter. There will be 4 different Hunter Masters you can get Rumours from, the lowest tier being tier 1 at 46 Hunter, and the highest being tier 4 at 91. Just like Slayer or farming tasks, you can only ever have 1 Rumour active at any given moment. But if none of the current Rumours interest you from any of the Masters, you do have the ability to trade in some extra spare creature parts to get the lowest tier of contract, and it'll also reset all of your available Rumours. Now once you've selected the Rumour and went off and completed your hunt, Turning in the rare creature parts from your hunt will give you a bonus XP drop as well as a loot sack of useful hunter goodies. Some of these goodies will include the meats, furs, and bones. But if you're lucky, you also might pull some of the new unique items, your very own Quetzal pet, or even a chance to obtain the new hunter skilling outfit. And when wearing this full new set, you'll get a buffed 2.5% catch rate and a 5% increased chance to obtain a rare creature part, which is what you're searching for with these Rumours. Now let's talk some of the new creatures on Varlamore. And the first one is Moths, and there is a Sunlight and a Moonlight variation requiring 65 and 7500 respectively. But these Moths also come with some new effects. You can use them on a random 3 players in a 3x3 radius. The Sunlight Moths give the effect of 6 plus 20% of a player's reduced stats, along with an additional 8 HP. And then the Moonlight Moth does 5 plus 10% of a player's level in prayer points. You also have the ability to use these in hunter mixes, making a tradable 2-dosed AoE potion that has the exact same effect of the original. Moving on, we have Antelopes, being the Sunlight Antelope requiring 7200, giving Sunlight Horns and Sunlight Meat, and the Moonlight Antelope requiring 9100, giving Moonlight Horns and Moonlight Meat. Next up are the Jerboa, and they require 3900 and are caught with a box trap. You'll craft their tails into hunter spears. Finnick Foxes, they require 57 hunter and baited deadfall traps, and they drop fox fur, meat, and bones. And then finally we have the Mountain Salamander, which is a new tier of salamander requiring 7900 to catch, and you'll need 80 attack, range, and magic to wield it. And just like the other salamanders in the game, this one will use Irrit Tar as its ammunition. Now let's talk about some of the new hunter meats that have the ability to be the best food in the game. First off, in order to access this new method of cooking these hunter meats, you'll have to complete Rumours. 25 Rumours will unlock cooking ability for the mid-tier meats, being the Grak, Kaya, and Fox. And you'll have to have completed 50 Rumours to access the high-tier meats, which are the Antelopes and the Dashing Kebits. And as you can see on this chart down here, the comparison to the normal high-end food to some of the high-end hunter food, the hunter food has a delayed healing effect. So if you eat a Dashing Kebit, you get 15 HP right away, and then you'll get an additional 8 HP after a few ticks, along with 10 run energy. So in total, you'll get 23 HP, but you don't get it immediately after eating the Kebit. And then finally, the end-all food in comparison to the Dark Crab / Manta Ray healing 22. The Moonlight Antelope meat will heal 17 as soon as you eat it, then you'll get an additional 4, and then even a few ticks later, you'll get an additional 5, but it'll also cure poison. Giving a few extra game ticks in between, when eating Moonlight Antelope meat, your total health will be healed by 26. Continuing with the massive hunter changes, we have a new gear set, being the Mixed Hide gear. This requires 50 defense and 60 range to equip. And similar to the Eclipse set from earlier, this is a hybrid set of both range and melee. And it pairs up well with the new Hunter's Spears. Will roll your damage based on your melee strength. These will be consumable and work in line with the Ava's equipment. They'll also give you an increased chance to successfully tease creatures like Kayats and Larupia. And one cool benefit to these new spears is they do not consume any ammo when being used against Chinchampas. And then improving on some old content, we have the Hunter's Crossbow. You'll be able to use the Sunlight Horns along with the Hunter's Crossbow to create the Sunlight Crossbow, which will be an upgraded version requiring 66 range and 50 hunter to use. You also need 74 fletching to craft it yourself, and it comes with a plus 79 ranged accuracy bonus. And you'll also be able to use both of the new Antelope horns to create buffed ammo. Now let's talk pouches and the new meat sacks. These are essentially just like coal bags or looting bags, but just for one respective item. We have Larupia, Grak, and Kayat pouches, requiring 35 crafting, 50 crafting, and then 65 crafting to make respectively. And they will store up to 14, 21, and 28 furs depending on your tier. The meat sack works incredibly similar, except there are only 2 tiers, being the Finnick meat pouch. This will require 35 crafting to make, and the Antelope meat pouch requiring 65 crafting. The Finnick can store up to 14 raw hunter meats, and the Antelope pouch will store up to 28. And in another change, the old hunter outfits are no longer just cosmetics. The Larupia, Grak, and Kayat armor sets now have a damage reduction bonus only against hunter creatures, and depending on the set you're wearing, it is by a full 20, 40, or 60% damage reduction. And then lastly, for Hunter, we have the Trap Storage, which is essentially the tackle box, but for Hunter. And if you're curious what Hunter items it's going to hold, it'll store everything created by the Lunar Spell Hunter Kit. Now let's talk some of the final smaller activities coming on March 20th with Varlamore. The first one we have is Bone Shard Mining. This requires 41 mining, and it is going to be a low intensity, bit of a combination like the Camdozel and Tears of Guthix. There will be veins where you can mine them to obtain bone shards. Every so often, waterfalls will run down one of the veins, and mining this vein will increase your success rate by 15%. Occasionally, players will receive calcified deposits, and smashing these will give you a stack of bone shards or a chance to receive a one-time use Camtorum teleport. Now, if you're curious what these bone shards are used for, there is a new prayer method, Offerings to Perilous. You'll need a minimum of at least 30 prayer to participate in this new method. In addition to just mining them, bone shards will also be able to be crafted from existing bones in the game, with higher tiers offering more bone shards when they're smashed. And to do this method, all you'll need are some bone shards and a jug of wine to fill up the pool, and you are good to go. And there's also a higher tier version of this method where you'll be able to use Sunfire Splinters to buff up your pool and offer more experience per bone shard. And then finally, we have Pickpocketing, Breaking, and Entering, which is a new thieving method requiring 50 thieving. First things first, you are able to pickpocket citizens around the new city, but this is a very high failure rate under normal conditions. Every so often, though, a nearby street urchin will distract a wealthy citizen, and while distracted, you'll have a 100% success chance for a short period of time, and you will auto-pickpocket for the entire period as well. Pickpocketing these citizens, though, will give coin pouches along with a chance to get a key. But with 50 thieving, you'll also be able to chat with a suspicious character lurking outside some of the homes in the city. This character will give you basically little challenges where you'll be requested to steal from certain houses. And with the keys you've stolen, you'll have a period of time once you've entered the house to search nearby cupboards, wardrobes, and just gather valuable items that you can turn into coins once you leave. But you have to be careful because if you are still in the house when the owners return, you will lose some of the items that you did find. And as a last thing to go with this thieving, at any random moment there is a single house in the district that will be marked by a special symbol. And this indicates a new high value target. This is specific to each individual player, so you will have to keep an eye out for your unique opportunity. And basically, this high-value household will just have a chance for double loot drops. And you also have a chance to find new ivory figurines, which you can then take to the Hunters Guild for a guaranteed reward pack. Or you'll also be able to chip them into bone shards and use them at Raylo's Rise. But with that, that is absolutely everything you need to know about the Part 1 of Varlamore's drop, coming this Wednesday on March 20th. One last thing I do want to mention is you do have to complete a quest in order to even start to access this new landmass. The quest is already in the game, it's Children of the Sun. It is very short, probably takes you like 5 minutes, but don't forget to complete it ahead of time, otherwise you'll have to complete it on the morning of launch, and that's just an unnecessary 5 minutes you have to worry about. But that's absolutely everything you need to know. Hopefully this video didn't drag out too long. It definitely didn't finish nearly as fast as I was hoping. But if you guys did enjoy, consider dropping a like. I hope you found it helpful, and I will catch you guys on Wednesday with the release of Varlamore.